Welcome to the podcast where today we're going to be talking with Lee Hunter about constipated sales funnels and how sales and marketing can use the old-fashioned ye olde sales funnel to actually get further and faster together in business. Cool, right, so let's just put ourselves in the car. We've just stopped at Stop and Eat in Ngatea.
Had a good coffee.
Had a good coffee. I've had a great big brioche bun, stuffed my face for the second breakfast of the day. You've had coconut milk, which is a good choice, given what happens if you have normal milk. And we're going to start a conversation about sales funnels. Cool. So, the topic of the day, are they valid? Have you ever worked with clients where they've been challenged? Where are they useful? You're the sales guy, take us away.
I think sales funnels are very topical. Most people today want sales, but they don't understand that sales just don't happen overnight. There's a process it's got to go through, and I think a sales funnel is a really good way to start a conversation with them and say to them, okay, what are you doing at different layers of that sales funnel? And as we've spoken about before, I think one of the funniest things at the moment is most people have a sales funnel that's constipated. They are spending a lot of money doing a lot of different things, but nothing's coming out the bottom.
Ooh, that sounds uncomfortable.
It does. And as awkward as it sounds, it's actually quite true. The market's tough at the moment, but I think until people actually understand the different layers of a sales funnel, how marketing can help that sales funnel, they're not really going to see the true value of it or how to alleviate that.
Okay, cool. So we've got clients with blockages, shall we say? Or, you see sales funnels that are a little bit backed up. You talked about a few things there. So you talked about the layers of the sales funnel. You talked about marketing's role within it. So I'm going to hop on that marketing piece first because as a marketer myself, in B2B, after the actual customer, you as a salesperson are my next most important customer. So tell me a little bit from the sales perspective on how sales funnels can actually kind of help marketing and sales get on the same page.
Well, our job in sales is effectively moving a prospective customer from the beginning of the journey all the way through to purchasing. So we have to move people through different stages. Having marketing behind us and supporting us is basically helping us move that customer along the same journey. If we have an interested customer, they obviously are aware of us, we're having conversations, but this customer requires more information about us. We then go to marketing and say, hey, can you help provide that information to help move the client through the next stage? Okay. So unless we're both helping each other on the same funnel, moving the same client through the same stages, we're not really going to get the outcome that we want.
And how does that play out then in the broader organization? Because I think that you'd hear the argument, certainly from the marketing camp, that that traditional view of the sales funnel is oversimplified. It doesn't have all the nuance that you'd want and get excited about as a marketer. But is there value in the simplicity in the broader organizational context? Does it help get people on the same page if you make it simple?
Hugely, I think absolutely, you nailed it there. I think everybody in the organisation plays a part in moving a customer through a journey from awareness through to consideration all the way through to purchasing and then becoming an advocate, because the sale doesn't end once they purchased a product. You've got to manage the client's expectation and deliver to them and then get them to refer business to you in other avenues. And that doesn't always sit just in the sales camp. It sits from management to marketing, all the way through to accounts. So I think you did right in saying it doesn't just sit in the sales. It's the whole organisation all helping move a client from being a prospect to being a happy advocate.
I like that. I mean, certainly one thing that I've seen, I guess in my world as a marketer, is that it's very easy to get sucked into all of the details and focus on one particular, like a particular metric or whatever that looks like. But I think there's an enormous amount of value in actually taking yourself a step back and saying, okay, well, look, inherently there are ratios here. If X people know about me and X people have started talking to me, we've signed them up, we're having conversations, it makes it a lot easier from a tactical perspective to be able to say, cool, all right, well, this piece is working, let's not worry about this piece, let's focus up here. So I think from that perspective, a sales funnel there's value in its simplicity.
You did right. And I think if we look at most organisations, what they do is they build a beautiful brand, a stunning website, and then they launch some Google search campaigns, which Google search campaigns is really the bottom of the funnel. And when you're at the bottom of that funnel, you're competing against everybody else in that funnel. But then when the leads don't convert, everyone goes, well, where's my leads? Why isn't it happening? I've got a website, I've got a brand. Why isn't it happening? And I think that's when you bring in the conversation to them, well, actually, there's a funnel. What are you doing pouring people at the top? And how are you pouring people, well, moving people from the middle down to the bottom? Then you start to get some traction and understanding in terms of what levers you need to pull, when to bring marketing in, where to support you. But if everybody's doing the same thing, I've got a brand, I've got a website, and I'm doing some Google search, you're competing for that very, very small piece at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a really interesting challenge. And I think certainly from, if you look at like the last sort of 15 years of marketing, certainly in digital, it's been a very easy stage of the funnel to get excited about, because you can quantify, we put this many dollars in and oh, look, we got this much out the bottom. Obviously we work with a lot of B2B marketers here in New Zealand, and one of the things that does come up as a challenge is actually demonstrating ROI back to the organization, back to the sales team as well, when you're focusing on the top of the funnel. So how have you seen that using a sales funnel can actually help marketing make the case for actually focusing on some of those longer term brand building pieces rather than just that pointy end of the funnel?
From a sales perspective, I mean, for us to help marketing and even CEOs understand it, is marketing do a lot of different things that we don't fully understand. But when we see how it can be leveraged against a sales funnel, it becomes a lot more tangible. We're doing all this brand work. Cool, what for? I'm not getting leads at the bottom. What's the purpose of it? When you attach it to a sales funnel, it starts to become a lot clearer and visual. Okay, we're pouring people at the top of the funnel. More people know about me. And a good way for even a salesperson to measure that is going to an event and people say, oh, I've seen your ad, I've seen you. It doesn't mean they know everything about you, but they know your brand. They know a little bit about you, which means more people are aware of you. No one's going to go, oh, I don't know you, can I buy your product? There's actually a journey that they need to go through. And to help marketing, I think what they need to do is attach the activities that they're doing directly to the relevance of the impact it's going to have on a sales funnel.
I like that, I hear that, and that makes good sense. You touched on an interesting point there, which is, when you're out at events and you're talking to people and you're getting the feedback that you've been seen and people actually know who you are. I consider myself a reforming salesperson. I've spent time in sales, but one thing that really strikes me as a success factor for any salesperson in the B2B context is having confidence that that the company can deliver, that you can put forward a value proposition that makes sense, and I guess that you're supported. So in that sense, what sort of role can a sales funnel have in helping salespeople have the confidence to go out and sell?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I think the confidence is a different layer from the sales funnel. It's understanding what marketing are doing to support them. As I say, with the sales funnel, the top of the funnel, the awareness side is big. We don't want to go to an event and be a stranger. It's a waste of our time. It's a waste of everyone. Oh, who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing? I mean, it's just awkward.
It's no fun.
It's no fun for anybody. But when they go in there and they say, oh, look, I've actually seen something of it, so creative, I love what you did. It's like, whoa, like I'm one step ahead, and it's like, cool. What did you think? What did you like about it? Do you think it'll work for you? How is that going to leverage the conversation that you're going to have with that person? And you want to have relevance. You don't want everyone coming up to you, so where are you from? So what do you do? Can you explain that? Where the conversation goes, oh, I've seen what you've absolutely love it. What did you love about it? Now let's get into that layer.
Yeah, I can see how that makes so much sense. It gets you off on a strong conversation. You're not going in a stranger. They know who you are. You've actually got something to talk about rather than the formalities of, hi, I'm Lee, hi, I'm Dale, I do this, I do that. Now that makes a lot of sense to me. So one of the things that we touched on earlier on was, I think within the marketing camp, there is a sense, like I said, that the sales funnel is a little bit antiquated. Customers aren't linear, they dive in, they dive out. So what other tools would you say are there for consideration And what would you say should be booted out in favor of a sales funnel?
What should be booted out?
Because there are any number of ways you can visualize this, right? You know, you've got the HubSpot flywheel, you've got the full customer journey, which tends to go hand in hand with a big CRM project. So what should you and what shouldn't you do from a sales perspective?
Well, from a sales perspective, I think everything starts from a sales funnel. And if we take one step back, I mean, every manager is going to go to the sales manager, the CEO, and say, cool, I'm forecasting. I need to build a scalable model of what you guys are doing. Without a sales funnel, you can't do that because you don't know where all your prospects are sitting in terms of that funnel. What are you expecting to come in? Well, I don't know, but my awareness is way up there. How does that feed into the bottom of the sales funnel? So when we sit down and we have meetings with different customers, we look at the pipe value and where people sit in that pipe value. What do we expect to come in and what don't we? That way we can make sure there's enough resources to deliver on or enough product to deliver on when they slowly come out the bottom. And I think what it also does in that aspect is provides clarity to everybody where they should be spending their time. If we've got everybody at the top of the funnel and nothing coming out the bottom, it doesn't mean there's a problem at the bottom. It means we need to look at the middle.
That makes sense.
Because if people are getting all the way into the top and there's no one moving them that layer down, then what do?
Yeah.
It's not about, oh, let's discount our price, let's change this. It's let's look at the information we're providing and is that the catalyst to get them to move to that next layer?
Now that's a really interesting perspective on this, and I'm going to circle back to the thing you spoke about early on about having a constipated sales funnel, which I love. So what can you do if your sales funnel is a little bit blocked up and there's plenty going in but nothing coming out?
Well, from a sales perspective, I'd probably go to you as a marketer and say, how can you help me? I'm doing all of these activities, everything's going in and nothing's coming out. And equally with our clients, when I go and talk to them, they say to me, look, we're spending the money. We're putting everything in. Why don't I have the revenue at the bottom? The first thing I'm going to do is sit down with marketing and probably ask you the same question. Because you've equally got an understanding of what the activities are. Where are we blocked in that funnel? Is it the middle? Is it the bottom? Do we lack, is the pricing a problem? Is it the value proposition that's the problem? Is it timing? Is it the environment we're selling in? Do we have all those elements covered? And are we seen as trusted as thought leaders within the space we're playing in?
Yeah, there's a lot of layers within that. And I think if you look at knowledge is power, right? So when it comes to looking at that whole sales funnel, one of the things that we've done with clients and for ourselves as well is just get really simple, really fast with CRM. It doesn't need to be this massive leviathan of a project, but if you can give visibility quite quickly to what your bottlenecks are, that I think makes a really, really big difference in terms of prioritizing what you do and what you don't. And then the other thing that, coming back to that, lower bowel funnel analogy, which I love, I think it comes down to diet. If you think about it from an individual perspective, if all you eat is steak and eggs, guess what? You're going to get a bit backed up. So it comes down to, I think, making sure that you're putting in the right mix, and understanding that, of course, you're going to have some of those great big meaty clients going in there, but making sure that you've got the right mix and that you're actually putting the right type of clients in there as well. Because let's face it, not all clients and not all food are created equal, particularly in B2B. When you've got massively long sales cycles, that's great, but you need some quick wins along the way as well. Not to say that you want small fry clients, but if you can take that, I guess, kind of portfolio approach and say, while we're working on the whales, let's try and snag a few dolphins. Yep. Not that I eat those. Coming back to our food analogy.
No, I think you did right with the timing function, because if you have a very simplistic and scalable sales funnel, you'll quickly work out there's a timing function between each phase. If you're going after the bigger clients, they're going to want more information. They're going to be more risk adverse. They're going to want to look through, especially in the B2B space. There's a lot of trust to build to move to those different layers. Without attaching yourself to that sales funnel, it just becomes quite theoretical. You're like, I don't know. It needs to be trackable and scalable. And even if you started off with, I don't know, the basic 4 stages, from awareness to consideration to RFP to closure. But then we equally got to look at the other side, is once they purchase from us, what happens then? That sales funnel then looks more into the customer journey, which we can elaborate.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. And I think there's definitely so much value to be had in doing that full customer journey piece. And like you said, managing clients all the way through, supporting them, and like you said, building advocates that also then hopefully can help bring you more business. And from a marketing perspective, those clients are great. They're the ones that you can turn up and take case studies and testimonials with and all that good stuff that builds trust. But I think certainly at the front end of the sales journey, that can be a bit of a dilution of focus. Mm-hmm. If you're always second guessing what's going to happen when the sale has been closed, it takes you away from that core function of, well, what are we doing to bring people through the pipe? And it's well documented. It's all the Ehrenberg-Bass stuff, which says that businesses grow through acquisition. Acquisition is what drives growth, not necessarily loyalty. It's an important thing, but focusing on the acquisition piece, I think, makes so much sense, particularly in B2B markets, and like here in New Zealand as well, where we don't have a huge market on our doorstep, so every sale is hard fought, tightly competed over as well. So making sure that you keep sight on that acquisition piece, I think, is a really it's a solid foundation for building a scalable business here and in the B2B space.
Equally, I think with the sales funnel, which I've learned from listening to you guys in marketing, is if you're only going to focus on, say, Google search right at the bottom of the funnel, you're basically only putting your product or your service in front of a customer right then and there when they're ready to buy, which means you're going to compete against everybody else. And the challenge there is on obviously what you're going to compete on. How quickly can you deliver it at the cheapest price? They want it then and there. And it's not really, especially in the B2B space, anything that happens quick is not really good, because you've got the symmetry of information and the client's going, you know everything, I want to buy it, and then they get it and they're not satisfied. Well, you've got to make sure they both have all the information. The value of the sales funnel is you can make sure that you educate your client at each step, but equally you can build loyalty by building that brand awareness over time through that consideration stage. When they're ready to buy, they may not go into Google and then compare you with other people. They'll be like, oh yeah, I've heard of you, I want to talk to you, before they're actually ready to purchase.
I think that, yeah, and it makes such a big difference in terms of your conversion rates as well. Like you said, if you're one of the contenders that gets found at the point of research and RFP, there's some McKinsey data. I think you're 6 times less likely to close than if you were one of the shortlisted contenders when people go into that research kind of process. But it's a hard thing to quantify, particularly for marketers. I mean, we're obviously producing this thing here. This sits within a sales funnel, right? Like, we're working on awareness and consideration right here in the room. But quantifying the ROI on that's a long game. And I think from in terms of getting everyone on the same page, and certainly from a marketing perspective, historically, we struggle with feeling valued, and we struggle with, kind of putting our hand up and say, look, all of this stuff is worth it. I can't quite tell you why, but it's worth it. Mm-hmm. So simplifying and actually using a really simple sales funnel in that sense, and a sales and marketing funnel, let's make clear that that's, they are two stages. Yeah, the 2 stages of the same journey, right? Making that more simple, it actually helps in the ROI conversation. And all of a sudden it shifts the conversation from, things like, phrases like consumer-based brand equity to, awareness is here. Yeah. Oh, cool, that's tangible. And if we've got X amount of awareness, we can expect X amount at the bottom, or Y amount. And that, I think, shifts conversations between sales and marketing, because let's face it, there has been, and there continues to be, a little bit of friction between the two camps. Mm-hmm. Certainly a bit of misunderstanding, would you say? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, with salespeople, we go out there, we've got an agenda, we want to understand our clients' challenges, give them information to make an informed decision. It's black and white for most of us. But I think what a lot of salespeople don't understand is the journey that customers actually got to go through. The more information and the more loyalty we can build with that customer, the higher the conversion rate's going to be. So we don't understand everything marketing does, and I mean, we shouldn't. We're not always marketers. It's a learning curve for even myself. But I think there's value to be had in actually learning that stuff, because it's how we can leverage off it to get to the same outcome. We all want more clients. We all want more money. We all want to do it its cheapest way possible. But what we all definitely want is more happy, satisfied customers. There's no point in us going out and just selling things hard and fast, spending all the company's money and getting to a stage where I've got 10 clients, 9 of them are upset, marketing did nothing for me. It happens.
That's when the finger pointing starts.
It happens. It's all got to be united. We all got to get on the same page, and that's when, if we bring back to the topic, the sales funnel, it's easy to understand. It's easy to comprehend. It's easy to show each other where we're helping each other move that client through that journey.
Yep, that all makes good sense. All right, so this has been so far theoretical. We've talked about a little bit of practical stuff, but let's shift gears here. What can you do to actually make this stuff work? How can you bring this into the modus operandi of a B2B sales and marketing organization?
It's got to start with understanding. And it's basically as simple as letting people understand, and I actually learned this from you, the 95-5 rule.
Okay.
If people understand that they have to invest and be proactive to that 95% of the market that is not ready to buy, and then showcase them visually their customer journey on how they're going to bring them to become the market-ready people, we're going to get on the same page.
Yep.
We're going to work together, we're going to have clarity, and we're going to have success. If we have customers that are just wanting to come on board and go, hit the market hard and I want the bottom and give me the revenue, we're setting ourselves up to fail.
Fully agree. And I think in terms of actually bringing, taking that understanding and turning it into something that's, a living and breathing way of working. We touched on it earlier on, but data, I think, is the key to a lot of this. And often marketers will sit with their spreadsheets and in, analytics and God knows wherever else and monitor all of those things. But if you can actually aggregate that and get a view, we've done it with clients in the past, right? The whole eyes to highs concept, where how many eyeballs did we reach and how many hand raisers did we get? It really helps everyone to understand, well, actually, do you know what marketing is? They're putting us out there. They really are. They're flogging this like you wouldn't believe. And actually being able to then visualize through CRM and tools like that, well, how many hand raisers did we get? How have we progressed people along through the journey? What are the drop-off rates? Mm-hmm. And I think if you can do that, and something simple as much as anything, if you can do it in a way that's simple and quick, you can make the use case for doing it more complicated by doing that. Yep. But often, particularly I think in B2B within New Zealand, where we're not dealing with massive volumes of customers, where the statistical significance of a change between a 2.1 and a 2.4% conversion rate means millions of dollars. That's not the case here. If you can actually set out to do it simple in the first case, you may never need the complex version. It's going to get you in and working and everyone on the same page, and hopefully marketing and sales speaking the same language as each other, and then the same language as the people in the boardroom as well. Yeah,
definitely. One thing that you touched on that I think is really, really important is, if we look back in the day, if someone went and hired marketing and their number one function was to generate leads. If they generate leads, no one questions it until they look at the bottom of the funnel and then go, well, I've got no revenue. So times have changed where you'd go out and say, oh, client, just get me as many leads as possible. Then what people suddenly realize is, get all these leads, but it doesn't equate to revenue. That's when I think the discussion can help marketing exactly go, well, let's look at the sales funnel. I'm not just generating you leads. I'm actually giving you a lot more, because the fundamental question comes, if I stop marketing today and I get leads tomorrow, it's not from marketing. And that's because they don't fully understand how the funnel works. Because if you're building awareness today, those leads will eventually come in time. And that brings us to the recent video we put up of, in a recession, what most people do, and they stop marketing. And then the market picks back up and people going, well, where's my leads? I've just started marketing. It takes time to build up. So I think that bringing it back to the sales funnel, I think what people expect from marketing has changed. And the sales funnel can help people better understand what to expect from marketing, how it's going to deliver value, but equally how it's going to affect sales and marketing together.
I think that's a really interesting perspective on it. The fact that, like you said, people don't often necessarily, like you couldn't explain the day in the life of a marketer. Most people wouldn't really get that unless they've walked in the shoes. But because of that, there's also this air of fluffiness, you know, like that, I hate to say it, but you know, the colouring in department complex, which is still prevalent. I think it still exists. Simple though it is, a sales funnel, I think really from a marketing perspective, can let you demonstrate commercial value rather than just the fluff. I mean, of course, the output is exciting, like the creative piece, the communication side of things, that's all great. And it gets people excited to a point. Yep. Like you said, you pitch a great campaign, everyone's excited, and then 2 days later, where's the money? So actually being able to demonstrate that with a sales funnel, nice and simple, clear cut, it helps in building the credibility of a marketer within the eyes of a salesperson and within the organization. And then because of that, if you can get a business that's actually more marketing led and is thinking in the longer term, like that 95-5 rule piece, do you know what? That's a recipe for success in the long run as well. So I think it can be a tool where everyone wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you nailed it there. Marketing in most cases is a long-term strategy. But utilising the sales funnel can show the short-term gains.
I like that.
Which then allows you to understand that you're going through this journey yourself. There's progression that needs to be had. We're going to start here and build awareness. Everyone needs to know who we are. The next stage is let's tell everybody when they should call us. What are their pains that they have that we can move from, oh, everyone knows us, to actually this is when you should call us, and here's some information you may need. And if we see each of those stages growing and more people coming in the funnel, we're going to have more confidence that down the track this is actually going to work.
Yeah.
Because people are going to say, oh, here's marketing, here's X amount of money and I want leads and I need it now. You're too late in the game if you're coming to us with that, or any marketing agency for that, especially in the B2B. Because we know that takes a long time and it needs trust and it needs information, and we need to get to a point where we're seen as, look, these guys know what they're doing. That doesn't happen overnight. And marketing actually should put the hand up and say, I can't do that.
That's a valid point. Yep. Yeah. Again, there's some really interesting points in there. And one of the things that you talk about is like the instantness of some of that stuff. So do you see that there are types or industries or sectors even where a sales funnel has huge value and where it doesn't? You know, it's the B2B, B2C trade-off, for example. Does it work in one and not the other?
Oh, that's a tough one. From a sales perspective, I think the B2C is a lot quicker, is a lot shorter sales cycle, which means the funnel can be impacted a lot quicker. You show something on social media, it can be emotional, tangible, and buy now, make it quite easy. But when we look at the B2B space, as I said, they're investing probably more money. They're more risk adverse people. So at the top of the funnel, it's got to be more social and emotional. But when you slowly move down to the bottom, it's got to be more functional. That means it takes longer. There's more time involved in getting to that stage. We've even seen with other clients where I brought up in the beginning, Constipated sales funnel. We've been so effective at putting people into the funnel that our challenge was to actually get them more awareness, get more people aware of them and trusting them. And we succeeded in that. But then we looked at the bottom of the funnel and go, why is nothing coming out? It's like, oh, marketing's not working. It's like, well, it is, but what we got to agree on is those time functions between the funnel. The customers we're going for are going to spend a lot of money. They're more risk averse. They want more information. They're not ready to buy. And then we've got to look at the environment we're playing in as well. So that sales funnel, how effective it is today versus how effective it is next year is going to be very different. But if you make it simple enough, you can adapt it quick enough to the environment you're playing in.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think one of the things that you touched on in that really resonates with me, which is that whole social, emotional, rational piece. I think historically in B2B, there's been this kind of outlook that B2B buyers are rational, because at the point at which they raise their hands and ask for a quote, they kind of are. But when you look at it in the longer term, like you said, and particularly in that long view, that 95-5 kind of like space, building the emotional reason and building the social reason behind why you would trust us, it gets you through that funnel so much faster, particularly when you consider that decisions are seldom made in isolation, right? It's not just Bob who gets to sign off on $400,000 worth of stuff. It's Sue, it's Pam, it's whatever else. So the more that you can then use that funnel to say, look, we're building awareness, not just for Bob, but we're also then spreading that out and making sure that his buying group is surrounded as well. We're giving them reasons to believe. They've got, there's an emotional hook and a category entry point that lets them know when to call us and then believe that they should. I think that's a really solid approach to actually using the sales funnel and then aligning it with the type of marketing work that you're doing. Because if you're trying to build awareness and you're talking about nuts and bolts and features, you got a problem. Yeah. You're building the wrong kind of awareness. You have to have it, don't get me wrong. You have to have the nuts and bolts in the right place, of course you do. But when you're talking awareness, from a marketer's perspective, if you've got that shared understanding that focusing on some of those social and emotional things, memory structures and things at the top of the funnel has value, it lets you do the fun stuff that you want to do, but still in a way that helps the rest of the organization understand the commercial reasoning behind it. So I think that's a really, really strong use case.
Absolutely, and I've even got a client that I recently worked with where she ticked every box throughout the entire sales funnel. We met, we understood her challenges, we documented the goals that she wanted to achieve, we knew the timeline, we knew the journey that the client wanted to go on, and we created the most beautiful presentation, and we went up and we sat with the team, and we had the lead marketer in the room, and we had the sales team in the room, and we were all geared up. And we did a beautiful presentation and we absolutely nailed it. And we walked out like glowing, like everything was going brilliantly. And it's so frustrating from a sales perspective. And then a week later, we get the feedback that that person actually took that information up. And the person they took it up to didn't know about us, didn't trust us, didn't know anything about us. And we fell flat. And it's because I think that's the fundamental difference in the B2B side, is you're not selling to one individual. You never can. There's going to be that buying group around them that are so influential. So theoretically, the ideal situation is everyone in that organization knew about us before we even got to the stage of her sending us information, I need help. Yeah. How can you help me? Then we've got a more chance of converting. And it's so frustrating because you tick every box in that funnel, but we miss the top.
All right, I love how candid that is, and I now have to ask, as the marketer behind the business that you're out and selling, what could marketing have done different there to have actually made sure that the CEO knew about you? And give it to me.
To be honest, I think we got to turn that around. What I should have done is gone and sat with you and said, these are the target groups I'm going after. These are the people that are within that organization, and then work collectively on saying, let's go after all of them. But I think the difference with this, and that's the inbound and outbound philosophy, is I didn't go out to them, they came inbound. And yeah, don't think there's anything better we could have done. I think from a sales perspective, we could have dug into going, okay, the people I'm talking to, are they the decision makers? Who else could have been involved? And how do we bring them in before we then present the solution? So that equally comes down to the sales funnel. Did we tick all the boxes? Probably not. With great presentation, we understood the challenges, but did we have everybody on board? Probably not.
And then from the marketer's perspective, that's great, because it tells me that, you know what, I need more budgeted awareness level. And I can make a case for that, because sales will give me a reason to actually put that forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's very cool. All right, look, I think we'll probably wrap things up. Are there any final thoughts or tips and advice that you would share on the topic?
Just don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't need to be. And the more overcomplicated you make it, the less buy-in you're going to get, the less people are going to understand and perceive the value of it. Start simple. And yes, customers are going to change, but then just modify a little bit. It doesn't need to change the world. But leverage off it, because it is simple for a reason. It is there for a reason. It's proven to work. So my only suggestion would be, especially to marketers, use that to communicate to the sales team.
I love that.
And as long as the sales team and you're aligned that you've got the same journey, no one's there to sell, but you're all there to help move that client through the different stages, you shouldn't go wrong.
I love that as a final thought. So thank you very much. We'll call it there.